People will often talk about their goals for their personal brand, for their career. And we have to understand that nowadays, everyone is a personal brand. Especially with the advent of AI coming in to consume everything in its space, slowly now and then all at once, it's going to happen. And I predicted this 7 years ago when I witnessed GPT-2 produce an article that was better than what your typical reporter was writing at the time, and even better than what reporters are writing now. I saw the future in 2017, December, and as I shared with you before. And I recognized that for me personally, people were going to say, I want to write a book, so I want Joshua Lisec. Not, I want to write a book, so I need a ghostwriter. What different ghostwriters could I interview that, maybe hire one of them? Maybe Joshua is one of them, maybe. Well, you understand the power of the personal brand in that context. The same is true of you, whether you're a W-2 employee or you're somebody who wants to grow your business big, totally and completely outside of a traditional employment system. It's going to be relevant for you either way. The good news is that you get to decide how people view you. This is the purpose of a book before you're somebody who's famous. You can decide the narrative around you. You can shape popular opinion. I suggest you write a book before you are big in order to do this, because you'll have people who find your stuff who otherwise like you. You maybe see a post that you've written on LinkedIn or a blog article that you wrote or something like that. Those are vapor. Those are mist. They're digital. They're not real, as opposed to a physical, tangible book that someone can put on their desk or bookshelf, and it compacts all the value of what you do into a single physical place, and it tells your whole story, your lore, so to speak. You are a three-dimensional person, not a one-dimensional post they saw go viral on X, for example, or a pretty good cover letter that, wow, we should make sure we keep this person around, file it away somewhere. Somebody who has a resume or somebody who has a book? Somebody who has a book, somebody who has a business card. Somebody who has a book, somebody who has a pretty good webinar at the top of their marketing funnel. You know who wins every single time. It's somebody with a book. And you get to decide what people think of you, how people remember you, by writing the title and the subtitle and the headline on the back cover of the book and the book description, that is what you do, why you do it, and who you do it for. You can lay out the problem that you solve, why it's a problem worth solving, and how you uniquely solve it. And you can do this in 3 or 4 paragraphs on the back cover of the book. Yes, it's about what's in the book. It's also about what you do personally in your work and in your career. Whether you're a consultant or a coach or a services provider, or you're a licensed expert, you're an attorney, a doctor, a licensed professional in some medical capacity, for example. You went to medical school. All of these letters that behind your name, what do they mean when you translate them into the real world? You answer all of that with a book. And if you don't got a book, then I kind of have to just sort of try and figure all this out by myself. And as AI gets better and better, and right now there's this whole H-1B immigration visa conversation that's been happening the past few weeks. I think necessarily so. But it brings up the fact that there's more competition for more people willing to work more hours for less pay and harsher circumstances with crappier bosses and more oversight, less freedom, fewer benefits. Now, that's not exactly America First policy from an American's perspective. And America First means the American people first, the American worker first. Perhaps we'll see some reforms on that, but we're still going to see AI come in and eat up so many swaths of things. And yes, one American worker is worth 10 to 100 from the global South in terms of productivity, in terms of reliability, in terms of integrity, in terms of all the things that you want from one of your workers. All of that is true. And even if you have that one American worker and you have many of them, there are still going to be things that software, that AI specifically, removes from their necessity in terms of their day-to-day productivity, in terms of their schedule. And so one of those American workers, enabled by AI, learning how to use it for their job, one American worker might be able to do in the near future the jobs of 10 American workers, which is to say dozens, if not hundreds, of workers from the global south who are now still looking for work down toward the bottom, so to speak, which means even fewer global entry points, entry level jobs into the workforce. So competition, regardless, is going to be getting greater and greater and greater. And turning this back onto myself, I recognized this 7 years ago, that the competition for ghostwriters for books is going to get harsher and harsher and harsher. And therefore, it was not going to be about trying to beat other ghostwriters for people looking for a ghostwriter. It would be, I want Joshua Lisec. Meaning this guy is so freaking famous, and I love his books, and I read his book on how he does his craft called So Good They Call You a Fake, that it just totally makes sense to work with this guy. I want a book that's as good as anything this guy puts out, if not better. And the missing ingredient is me. He just needs me. I want Joshua as my co-author, my ghostwriter. Not just my ghostwriter, but my co-author. I want his name on the book so it will sell more copies because of how many books this guy can move. That's the transition you notice in my own career, going from ghostwriter to being a New York Times bestselling co-author. Just last year, 2 books on the New York Times bestseller list with my name on them. That was pretty cool. That's more of the future, I understand, for my own career. As a ghostwriter, do you see the difference? It's not just Joshua's a ghostwriter and it's a co-author. He's a ghostwriter, and in order to keep being a ghostwriter, he's being a co-author. Does that make sense? Visibility is what you need now more than anything else. That's why I teach it in So Good They Call You a Fake. In chapter 1, I talk about the coming AI wave that, together with the rise of the global south and the ease that at which anyone can pretend to be experienced and knowledgeable. And we saw with the H-1B immigration conversation how there were people who were lying and saying they had 7 years of experience when in really they had just had 4 months of on-the-job training and a fake degree from a fake university. But they did get the training. They did. So the number one thing to take away from this video is you need a book in order to survive now. The reason you need a book in order to survive now is because we want people to say, I want you personally. Not just I want your book, I want you personally. I want you personally. And that's why you need a book in 2025.